All right, you guys wanted a video just to kind of show you kind of where the market's at. I'll just be honest with you, it's a shit show right now. Um, the market peaked most recently for small cap pre-revenue stock, which is what everyone's in, myself included, on or about May the 28th. So if we go back and we look at the 1 year chart, we'll go to UAMY because that's what pretty much everyone's in. Okay, so October, that's the big peak. But I mean, most recently, let me see if I can do this here. May 5th. Okay, well, space stocks peaked May 28th. There you go. Other ones peaked, probably, when was that? May 22nd. So basically the last part of May. So, now what's happened since then? SpaceX IPO'd. Remember the total market capitalization of the entire stock market was only about 25 only was 25 trillion pre SpaceX IPO. So which means that all of retail, institutional, everyone in the country had invested, or the total dollar value of the whole securities market was 25 trillion. SpaceX IPO'd at with a market cap of 2.4 trillion. So they literally took 10% of everything that's invested into their company, which means a lot of space stocks, pretty much everything in the market took a hit. But space stocks were hit big time, like a 50 to 60% hit, which, you know, I don't think anyone could have predicted. I know I did as much research as I possibly could. There were two camps. There were, a rising tide raises all ships. And then there were not many people saying like it was, no one thought it was going to tank the market like this in terms of the space sector. But if we look at, let's go to, let me go to the 1 year chart for the index funds. That's the 1 day chart. Let me go to 1 year. So if we look, let me move this. So if we look here, that's about June 2nd. So that's when ticker SPY did reach a peak at 760 a share. So it's gone down a little bit since then, not much, maybe like 1.5%. Um, but also when we saw these run ups of UAMY and NVTS and ASTS, those are not small cap, lower capitalization pre-revenue companies. So with low cap pre-revenue, you're going to experience a lot more volatility. But the upside is when they go boom, they go boom, they go way higher, and that's why it's important to stay in the market for a long time. These kinds of fluctuations are somewhat predictable, though it was not predictable what happened with the SpaceX IPO. I mean, you just don't have a crystal ball. So, all that to say, I am continuing to fork every dollar I have into the market. I'm not ashamed to say it. This when the market reaches levels this low, you got to buy. It's the time to buy. People think, oh, market's low, sell. No, that's the absolute worst time to sell. What you want to do is potentially, and what I may do here on out, I may go ahead and sell. So like we'll look at, I hate to keep using UAMY, but so shoot, where am I going to put this? This is getting annoying. Hold on. There we go, I'll shrink it. All right, I'll put it right here. What I will probably do is, see UAMY, that's the 1 year chart. What I'll probably do is once it gets to a point about right here, so looking back what it got to on May the 6th, I would likely sell in the future at this point right here. Why is that? Well, if you notice, so here is the, hold on, let me see here. Here is the 375-day moving average of ticker UAMY. So what this does is this looks back and says over the last 375 days, if we add all those closing prices together at the end of the day, and then divide it by 375 days, what is the average at this point in time? So we look back here, add it all together, divided by 375. And so if you notice at this point, the 375 average is at $5.97. Okay, what happened right here? We reached a point that was a little over 2x of the 375. And what happened since then? Downturn. To the point to where we are now equal to a 275 day, 375 moving average. So going forward, it's going to be probably something I do where, once it gets to this point, I probably wouldn't have sold right here because, as you can see, if I would have sold here, it got even higher and higher. However, there has to be a point to where you can say, all right, it's gone too high, too soon. And so, this is what I would do. So next time it gets to about 2x of this moving average, it's going to be a sell. If you are looking to invest more money, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Some people, you think I'm crazy right now because of the market. No. You have to understand how critically low some of these prices are. I mean, they're stupid low. This is like the dollar store going out of business. That's what's going on. Except these companies are going out of business. The market is slow. It's the Iran war. Gas prices are going back up. SpaceX IPO'd. And not only that, but the fifth and most problematic condition right now is that I've talked about this before. Short sellers are people who bet against the market or a certain sector. So a short seller, call him Bob. Bob will say, hey man, can I borrow some of those shares? And Tom's like, okay, but what are you going to pay me? Bob's like, I'll give you $5 a share. And Tom's like, okay, that might be worth it. So Bob takes the shares he borrowed from Tom, immediately sells them off to the market, gets that money, right? He's betting that the shares are going to drop in value, so then he can return those shares back to Tom, and he profits that difference right there. So that's what's going on, because I have to verify this, but I'm pretty sure that SpaceX is not able to be shorted that much right now because they have like hundreds of millions and more shares coming open in like a few weeks or something like that. So they like to short SpaceX, but they're shorting the rest of the market instead because they can't right now. So that's a big thing. And so like with ASTS, when you see maximum shorting going on, there's a lot of pressure downwards because now people say, okay, well, how does this work? Like, what exactly causes the price to move down? What happens is the short sellers, they borrow the shares from someone else and immediately put them on the market for sale. So supply and demand, you have more sellers than buyers. What happens? That we all know that drives the price down. And so just by the simple fact of short selling, it's likely to decrease the market value of whatever it is. Now, if say there were like something going on behind the scenes and institutions and Wall Street, they want to do this, in unison, or then that's kind of where we're at. But the best thing we can do is to continue to buy, and as I said in the email, would be to utilize what are called cash secured puts. And I will show you what those are right now. And the reason why they're really important at this point is because, let me see here. Can I zoom in on this? Hell no. Can't zoom in. Let me go over here. So, hold on. Let me try this. Sorry, bear with me. Hang on. Fun times. I should have played Jeopardy music right now. Here we go. Hold up. Let me drag this over there. Here we go. All right, hold on. Maybe I'll edit this out or something like that. All right, here we go. So let me screen capture this, and I'll go right here, and now I'll drag it over onto the screen. Here we go. So the reason why I say it's so important to continue to buy, especially right now, is because, like I just said, it's the dollar store and it's all on sale. They're having a clearance event, you know what I mean? And so, what is going on is we're seeing price can only go so low until a company goes out of business. Now, what are the odds that all these companies are going out of business? Virtually none. I mean, like, if that happens, then we got bigger problems than the $1,000 or $5,000, that you invested with me that is, declining in value or went to zero. What are the odds that all these companies are going out of business? Zero. There's no chance of it happening. I know I'm never supposed to say guaranteed or 0%. It's not happening. So what I would recommend is I would, from this point on, or until we come out of this area that we're in, if you want to invest more with me, I would recommend only this strategy, which you would get a guarantee of in writing from me. It's called a cash secured put, 10 to 15% below the market price. And what that means is if the market price of ASTS is $66 right here, you then say, okay, I would like to allow the cash that I put in to be allocated towards ASTS only if the price gets to right here, an even lower level, within 2 days or whatever number of days it is. The reason that's good is because you still get a premium. You can still get paid a premium on this without having to own the actual underlying stock. So essentially, you're making a bet that it's not going to go that low, but you're going to get paid a premium regardless. And so that's what I would recommend. If it's kind of confusing, let me know. I could go over this in detail with you again. This is not something where I'm just like, hey, write me a check or deposit everything. I mean, it just in this particular time frame between now and the point to where we get to higher levels. I know it's kind of vague, but right now, anything you invest with me, it would have to be a minimum of $7,000 minimum. I'm not going to take 100. It has to be a minimum of $7,000. So from now until a point in the future that I will let you know when that changes, I'm only doing cash secured puts, and I'm only doing minimums of $7,000, which you will get in writing. And I got to stress again, now is the time to buy. The market is getting so critically low that it can only go so low. And like I said, if it goes if all these companies go to zero, we're talking about end of times. I mean, it's we got other stuff to worry about, like where are we going to get gas, So glad you guys watched. Appreciate you guys for investing in my fund, believing in me, which I'm telling you, I have zero left to invest in the market. Everything I have is in the market because I know now's the time to buy. And so I appreciate you guys. Highly recommend considering investing more. I don't expect you to do it out of nowhere and just like send me blank checks. If you're interested, reach out to me. We'll schedule a meeting it'd be a Zoom meeting. And actually, I'm going to be in Ohio this Friday to next Friday. So if you're there, I can meet with you. And just weather the storm is all I could say. All right, have a good one.